Hi, welcome to the Retirement Railroad Matinee Modeling Tip of the Day. All right, in yesterday's episode, which would have been number 25, I believe, we talked about we were modifying a Southern AHM or VLC gondola, and I had mentioned coupler heights. And in that refurbishing, I switched out wheels from 36-inch wheels to 33-inch wheels to get the coupler heights the same. And as a review of that tip of the day, coupler heights matter, especially when you have inclines, declines, where you're changing the angle between the cars. When they're the same, any type of change in angle, and they'll stay coupled. But if there's already start with an offset and you change angles, they can separate further and come uncoupled. Okay? And there's a number of ways to adjust the coupler heights, because every manufacturer can come up with a different way to mount couplers, and we as hobbyists have to figure out how to get them all to match up properly. Also, in a previous tip of the day, I showed a coupler height gauge that Katie has. You need one of those as well, so that you know what height your couplers should be, and you have a standard to judge against and modify any of your equipment to. So we're going to look at some of the different ways to adjust coupler heights. And then finally today we're going to look at trip pins, okay? And how important they can be, or unimportant, depending on whether you're going to use them or not. Okay, so let's look at, I don't have it up here. Wow. Okay, let's look at two semi-identical Athearn Blue Box SD 45s. One of them's about 45 years old, the other one's brand new, but still 20 years old. Okay? Brand new in the box that I just obtained recently. And I know it's new because it's still had all of its packaging. It's had to assemble handrails, etc., etc., etc. Plus the paint is brand new. It's been in the box the whole time. It's not faded at all. All right. So as I look at these being identical, all right. By the way, the shell is loose on this one, okay? Because I'm working on something else with this engine. So, and I look at this one, you would think the coupler heights would be the same. Yet, the newer one, the coupler height is higher. KD couplers will come with the knuckle, all right, and the shank in the middle of the coupler. That's the standard shank and knuckle configuration. KD does have specialized couplers. You can get them with short shanks, long shanks, or offset shanks. Okay? So in the case of these two engines, where the couplers are mounted to the boxes, mounted to the frames, and that height is not adjustable. You can't adjust the wheels because they're powered trucks. There's just no good way to do it other than modifying the frame and putting in shims. Thus, there's a simpler way to get the coupler heights to match up, and that's these specialized KD couplers. Right? The coupler 142 has the shank, and if you look at this picture here. All right, the shank is at the top of the knuckle. Okay, so it has lowered the knuckle down. So you'd use this if your coupler was too high, lowering the knuckle. That's the 142s. The 147s are just the opposite. The knuckles high. All right, see that picture? The knuckles offset upwards. Okay, so if you have a low coupler knuckle, you would use this one to raise it up. And if it still didn't match up, for the instance with these two locomotives, the two SD45s of mine, I use them in a consist. So if they don't line up even after changing one to adjust, I can change the other with the opposite KD coupler adjustment. One with a 142, one with a 147. You just gotta make sure you put the right ones on the right logos. Okay? So luckily for me, on this one, and you're probably not gonna be able to see it, I only needed the offset knuckle upwards, okay, to adjust one side, and now they line up. Okay, so that's how we can, one method to adjust couplers. There's other methods. Okay? Here's a tank car, and I've already started the refurbishing of this tank car. This tank car is circa late 50s, 1960 maybe, somewhere in there. I believe it was one of the original freight cars that my dad had obtained as part of a train set for my older brother. Okay? And one of the ones he did not destroy. So, I've already started the process. This coupler I've changed out. It's a Marx, and I was curious about it, trying to look up some information, so I got on eBay to see if any were available out there. And that's how I found out it was a Marx, because it's not listed anywhere on the car itself. And so it's a Marx, M-A-R-X, and on eBay, like so many other things, they say rare, and then an exorbitant price on it. It's not worth the price they had on it. So, and I don't care how rare it is. So, but it has sentimental value to me, and so I want to refurbish it. And I started. Now this one is very different than most that I have. It's not, these wheels are not pinned, okay? And they're not screwed. There's a brass knob that these trucks press on and slip over and grab, okay? But the other thing about them that is the couplers are part of the truck, kind of. It's dependent upon the truck, but separate. This one's done. Let me pull off the other one and show you. Without breaking it, hopefully. There we go. Okay. So, although that coupler moved back and forth based upon the truck, notice it's not actually part of the truck. There's a separate piece that the coupler itself fits into, and it has legs. It has legs that make it move with the truck. But yet it still has the pivoting, separate pivoting on the offset and the coupler. Now this has one of those insert springs, such as number 5 Katie uses. Again, as I've shown you in the past, I use the number, well, it's a bulk pack 148 that has whiskers for centering. So the horn hook can go away. This little piece here can go away. Maybe. Yeah. There it is. I'll save this because I can use it with a KD number 5. So every now and then I run across one of those. So, very simple now for me to put in a one of my whisker couplers into this, put it back together with the truck and the frame, switch out the plastic wheels with some metal ones, and it should be good to go. And then I'll check the coupler height. Okay? Before I get to another example here, you know, I talked about that Southern gondola and on yesterday's tip of the day, number 24, should be yesterday's. Here it is. Okay, so I ran this over to the test track where my coupler gauge is, and it's too tall. Okay, so there's two ways to adjust the height on when you're too tall. So for this video, I'm going to show you one of the ways. We are going to change these back to 33-inch wheels, which probably is what was on them to begin with. And I could get a caliper out and double check, but we're just gonna do it this way. It really doesn't matter what it was, it matters what it is. So another how not to and how to fix it on the tip of the day. Makes it easier if you don't even have to pull the truck off to do these. Just being plastic side frames on these trucks makes it easier. If I didn't have such fat fingers, it would be even easier. There we go. I want to get these mixed up because these aren't the black like the others, but don't have to be. Now this may throw my weight just a tad different. I'm betting it's because the wheels aren't the same size, but I'm betting it's not noticeable enough for the scale to pick up. And when doing wheels, of course, they're insulated. One side, the metal axle, will not come in contact with the metal wheel. And while it's not very important on a gondola, it could become very important on a caboose, as an example, if you're going to add lighting or an end of track device and have to get power pickups on the trucks. There we go. That's one side done. back and look at the other side. Let's go ahead and pull them both off. There we go. And in this case, again, if it was a caboose, and when I change wheels, I make them all as if I might put a power pickup on them. Because another reason to add a power pickup to any car is adding a resistor, so that some types of block detection can detect each and every car, not just a locomotive or a caboose. Okay, so get this back together, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back, and after changing out the 36-inch wheels down to 33-inch wheels, the couplers line up perfectly. All right. One other thing people need to check is these trip pins. Okay. Now, I haven't adjusted this at all, but a lot of times these trip pins will be, or the coupler itself will hang down just a little bit, and those trip pins will get caught on like a switch at a junction where you're crossing another rail, or a crossing, or a re-railer, or any number of other different possibilities. And you can take a pair of long nose pliers, I have a pair of angled ones, and simply support your coupler box and then bend that trip pin back up a little bit. All right, and that'll ensure you have good clearance. All right, so refurbishing some old rolling stock. Like I said, this one's circa late 60s, early 70s. Adding new trucks, metal wheels, Kadee couplers, new coupler boxes, and giving it the right weight. All right, a little bit more than one tip for today. All right, but I thought yesterday's, or tip number 24, needed a follow-up. All right. So, okay, while you were watching my pre-recorded videos on those on that southern gondola, I finished up the Marks tank car, and both Kadee couplers are now on. All right, both trucks are back on. I say I finished it up. I did not change out the metal wheels yet. I got to do that. Okay. In 2 videos now, I've mentioned bending the Kadee trip pins. Some people cut them off. If you're going to use magnetic uncouplers, or above track or under track magnets, to stop over to throw the knuckle for uncoupling, you got to have those trip pins. The magnets will still work if you bend up. Some people call it the air hose. It's supposed to mock the air hose. I just call them trip pins. But if you take it, and unfortunately this camera isn't the best in the world, but anyway, if you take it, and again I mentioned supporting the coupler box, and you get a hold of the trip pin and you just gently bend it up. And what it does is it will make it where the trip pin itself is not such that the going across the switch or a crossover or even an incline, a decline like this where this trip pin won't catch. Okay? Now this one's bent a little bit to the exaggeration, but you can see how it's bent up. Let's get it over here maybe. You might be able to see it. But anyway, pliers support the coupler box, bend it slightly up. Okay. Now, another way to adjust the coupler height is, and this is another one of the old cars I'm refurbishing. This one was manufactured according to the printing underneath by Crown. Never heard of it. Don't even know where I got this car. And of course it's a heavy duty log car, flat car, with double trucks. Well, if I adjust and shim the double trucks, the coupler goes and you're not adjusting the height. So what you have to do with these is the screw on all, in this case, all 4 trucks. You have to unscrew and add in some washer shims. And KD has some different washers. They have red washers and they have gray washers. And they're different thicknesses. So depending on your gauge, your KD coupler gauge, you can get an idea of how many of the washers you're going to need to use. So, on this one, it wasn't off a whole bunch, and it's already been done. I'm just taking it apart to show you the washers, if you can see it. Right here, there is a washer that this truck sits on. And that acts as just enough of a shim. This is a KD red washer. It acts as just enough of a shim in conjunction with the other one also having a shim to raise the coupler height to where it needs to be height-wise to match up with the car it's coupling up to. And again, this is easy to do. You have the right tools and parts. Any hobby store has the shims. I can guarantee it. So on one side of this car, it required 1 shim per truck. The other side required 2 shims per truck. Why? You'd think it'd be the same. It wasn't. It's here nor there. It's fixed. Okay? So now this one is ready to go. Now the problem with both of these in the refurbishing process, one still needs metal wheels. That'll be done here momentarily. The other one I already did the metal wheels on, the log car. But adding weight to these. Right? Flat cars and tank cars, the Athearn tank cars you can get into to add weight, the blue boxes. That tank is actually 2 pieces, like a top 3/4 and a bottom 1/4, so to speak. This Marks is all 1 piece. And on the log car, it's flat car. Where do you put the weight? Okay, on a flat car, you can adjust the weight with the load, putting a tractor on it, or a truck, piggyback. This one has hollow plastic logs. Now, there's 2 things I can do with this one. I can put a hole in these logs, and Walthers has a product called Liquid Gravity. It's basically like it's not lead, but it's like a liquid lead that you pour into these to adjust the weight. Or you can use the liquid lead on the underframe. In the case of this Crown, it's got all these grid, and there's already some weight on the 2 end 2 compartments on each end. Okay? It just needs more. So I can work with that one. On this Marks Allstate motor oil, I am probably going to have to come in here underneath and drill a hole and use some of that liquid gravity poured into the tank car. If you've got another suggestion for me, please leave a comment. And let me know what you think are other possibilities, because the frame of this tank car is open. So if I put any weight on this frame, it's going to be visible. So, anyway, adjusting coupler heights, adjusting trip pins, and some other methodologies in weighting cars. Yeah, it's kind of funny. Some of these cars, I put more in parts on them than what they're worth. But again, sentimental value, and it's kind of neat to have old antique cars, even if they're not necessarily prototypical, but they are proto-representative, or at least that's my claim, and I'm sticking to it. Hey, I want to thank you for joining me today on the Retirement Railroad, Retirement Railroad Modeling Matinee Tip of the Day. So y'all take care, and thanks for watching. Bye now.